Greetings, dear friends. We want to begin a series that is honoring of our nature in the practice of meditation, in the practice of stopping and looking deeply. And this series is about a unique way of looking deeply at our inner life. And what I mean by inner life is first that we have society inside of us. We refer to this as our land ancestors, our blood ancestors, our spiritual ancestors. I like to also say our ecological ancestors, and millions of ancestors we do not know personally. Many years ago, I ran across a book written by Joan Halifax called Voices of Our Ancestors. And in it, she was talking about the power of stillness and stopping and slowing down enough to be able to hear what's inside of us. Because what's inside of us is always on and running. And so we're not talking about anything that is an entity here. We're not talking about anything that has an essence here. We're talking about the flow of life within us. And part of that flow is we were born already with society in us, in our genes, and in all that has been transmitted to us since we've been alive. Wherever we've been in the world, whatever our family situation was like, and whatever has happened in our lives as our lives have unfolded. So, this is really to enhance our skillfulness in practicing with ourselves. There's some research many years ago on a category called self talk, how often we talk to ourselves in a healthy way. And um, we talk most to ourselves more than we talk to other people. And so it's important to know and understand our own dialogue with ourselves because it influences how we think, and it influences how we speak, and it influences how we behave. Another way to say what this series is about our stored consciousness. An important teaching in Buddhism that Thay has emphasized a lot in his teaching. I want to just read a couple of paragraphs from the 50 verses on consciousness, Thay's translation. In us are infinite varieties of seeds of samsara, nirvana, delusion, enlightenment, seeds of suffering, and seeds of happiness, seeds of perceptions, names, and words, seeds that manifest as body and mind, as realms of being, stages, and worlds, are all stored in our consciousness. That is why it is called store. Some seeds are innate, handed down by our ancestors. Some were sown while we were still in the womb. Others were sown when we were children. Whether transmitted by family, or friends, or society, or education, all of our seeds are by nature both individual and collective. The quality of our life depends on the quality of the seeds that lie deep in our consciousness. So, another way to describe what this series is about is just taking a pause and checking in on how we're handling the seeds in our consciousness. I try to do that every week and just see what habit patterns, what habit energies, what thought patterns do I have to practice with as life goes on, as I hear the news, as I see the news, as I look in the streets of where I live and around the world. Um, what happens inside of me? Because I think it's important to understand that, which we all have experienced, whenever something externally happens to us, something internally happens to us also. And learning how to navigate that, especially in these times of great pessimism and doubt and fear and concern for our planet and for us all, it's important to be able to bring the best of ourselves to our appointment with life and our appointment with one another. We have no time to lose in trying to be perfect. We have all the time in the world in the present moment to practice. So this is about uh, that. Yes, we have a solitary life, but our solitary life can never escape the society within. There's people who've talked for many years about going somewhere to get away from things, and discover that things were with them when they got there. It's the wherever you go, there you are, and that can be overwhelming. And so, learning how to be mindful and practicing with whatever seeds are rising in us because of the stress in the world, or the stress in our life, or the stress on our planet, all of which are interconnected, is important to pay attention to. So there's 4 stages to the process we're going to introduce. The first one is a stage of recognizing and naming your awareness of your current circle of influence inside of you. These can be family, blood ancestors, land ancestors, spiritual ancestors, mentors, friends, and even sometimes strangers. These can be human and non-human, that we can have benefited from an encounter with their presence in our lives. And everywhere I've ever lived, I've found a tree that I could begin to have a relationship with, no matter what was happening in my life. And there be grounded, there sit down, and there lie down, or stretch back, or wrap my arms around that grounding that is just there for me. And I know how to do that. And so I'm just talking about simple things that we can do to empower ourselves on our spiritual journey. So the first stage is naming, getting some sense of the circle of energies in people and beings and teachings that are influential in us as individuals, and observing how that impacts our nervous system. We already know what we think impacts us. What we say impacts us, what we hear impacts us, and how we behave impacts us as well, inside as well as outside. And then next session will be on how to dialogue with these energies. And the way I've been doing it is asking myself, what energy is most present in me the last 30 days? What push toward anything, or what pull toward anything has been most influential in my pattern of living? And and then the next question is to name that pattern. And then next is to ask yourself, is that pattern wholesome or unwholesome or mixed? and 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 what do you need? What is a conversation you really need to have with yourself that's worth your precious time and energy, that you can give mindful attention to? And we have these conversations with ourselves all the time, and that's only natural as a part of the human journey. And then we'll look at what are the characteristics and qualities of what's been transmitted to us by the seeds we've been paying attention to. And this is really another way of talking about what Thay called selective watering: right effort, right diligence, meaning what do we pay attention to? What are we place our mind? On what do we place our mind and our heart? And so we will scan our circle, maybe pick the top 3 that have been most present in our energy pattern over the last 30 days. And then that will set us up for the next session, which is to discern. It's a session on discrimination. Discrimination in the wise sense, wise attention to what positive presence do you need right now in your life. It's like I know I can call on the Buddha. I can call on Thay. I can call on Martin Luther King. I can call on Gandhi. I've had concrete experiences with all these people in one way or another. And Gandhi staying in one of his huts in India, being in India 2 years. And his energy was just about everywhere because I was working in villages. I made sure I paid attention to that. And one of my favorite trips to enter to the village, I was on a bicycle, was a statue of Martin Luther King and a statue of Gandhi side by side. And that's what I'm talking about. What will keep you alive and thriving in this very difficult external time, in this very depressing external time? You have to find a way, which is what, for me, the practice is really important right now about, is to find a way to touch joy and be touched by joy. And so one of the ways I look at my own energy and my own energy patterns and my own inner conversation or dialogue with what might ever represent that dialogue is it bringing me joy, or is it only bringing me judgment? That's a very important distinction, because the transformation we require in the world right now can only be sourced from the experience of the wisdom of joy. Joy in the present moments of our lives. Here together on this planet with all these co-beings. And lastly, we will, I've been trying to think about how to describe this so it doesn't sound like a Western model of the Knights of the Round Table, but this is your inner sangha. You go through this process and you want to choose who you want to be on your inner sangha. My grandmother is on my inner sangha. My mother's on my inner sangha. My father is, but not so much, but he's there. And Thay is, of course. And I mentioned others. One of my early teachers in Christianity is in my inner sangha. And for me, that means I can hear them from time to time, things they've said that I remember. And it becomes what we call in resilience work, a positive memory capsule. And so if I want to have a conversation with Thay or any other teacher or friend or mentor, I can sit myself down in meditation and in 5 minutes visualize myself with them in dialogue, in conversation, in silence, and experience the nourishment of being in touch with positive, healing, transformational energy. And so the inner sangha is not a committee. It's not permanent. Not like nothing, like nothing is permanent, but it is a peek into the moment of what might be helpful in recognizing your inner life as a living thing, as vital, as of importance, because whatever goes on in our inner life spills out into our outer life. Thank you.